How do you tell the story of a place? If you want to tell deeper stories of the places that you visit, then this video is for you. Today, I'm sharing the 6 essential concepts I've developed over the last near decade of traveling with my camera that helped me create a complete photo story of Kamakura, Japan in just 2 shooting days. Let's get into it. Okay, so Kamakura isn't massive, but it's certainly got a lot to it. How are we going to manage telling the story of an entire city in just 2 days? It seems like quite the undertaking, but it starts before we even get there. Concept number 1 gives us a strong guideline for what exactly we're going to photograph, and it's this idea of photo buckets. Photo buckets are categories of images that you fill, like a bucket, with several photos so you have choice later of what makes the final cut. I like a boots on the ground feel to documenting everyday life. So for the Kamakura story, my buckets looked like this: pastel buildings, nature in the city, beach life like fishing boats and surfers, and temple atmosphere. Notice these aren't specific shots to copy or names of one-off places. I do have a list of places I'm going to go, but these are just themes that will help spark ideas when I'm actually shooting. I like to have 3 to 5 or even 10 photos for each story bucket. These buckets are of course informed by some level of research before visiting. Anything you see on Google Images or Instagram that catches your eye or interests you can go on a list for later that will help guide you when you actually get there. And don't stress about having these buckets perfect right away. This list can and will expand once you actually get to your destination. But in my experience, even a lightly planned list in my Notes app can go a long way in helping to reduce that overwhelming feeling of where do I start when you actually get there. Research provides a foundation that frees you to be spontaneous when necessary, and I will definitely be doing that later in this story. The next decision we face is where exactly to go when we get there. That leads us nicely into concept number 2, and it's a shift in perspective when traveling. It's better to go deep than it is to go wide. I know it sounds really philosophical, but it's not complicated. So what does it mean? Well, the core of going deep instead of going wide is that the best photo stories are made when you actually spend time in a place, instead of jumping from point A to point B, C, D, E, and so on. I find it's better to visit fewer places for a longer time so you can really get to know them. In my eyes, when it comes to travel photography, less is more. You're going to get a much richer photo story and personal experience visiting, say, 3 places over the course of a day and really exploring them than you're going to get trying to visit 10 for an hour each. Day 1 took place entirely within a 1.5 kilometer radius of Kamakura Station. As I made my way toward Yuigahama Beach, I took the long route through the pastel-colored side streets of Kamakura, just following whatever caught my eye. What I'm really doing when I first get to a destination is warming up, photographically. Warming up my eye, getting a sense of the environment and atmosphere and visual aesthetic of a place. I want to get a deeper understanding of how people live there, as well as other potential story elements I can photograph. That's why I spend at least day 1 in a very small area. Concept 3 piggybacks off of going deep instead of going wide and helps us figure out what our story is actually about. And it's curiosity is king. Basically, what are you personally interested in that can create a unique photo story? If you're a foodie, center your story around restaurants and local cuisine. If you're into art and handmade things, center your story around the artists and craft in a place. I'm personally very interested in architecture and the way people live in a place, so that drives a lot of my direction when traveling. When I arrived at Yuigahama Beach to the crisp fall air, I was immediately drawn to the fishing equipment in the area. I knew this would be a great addition to my photo story because of Kamakura's history of going from a small fishing village to a vibrant coastal city. So it was important to show how the beach and the ocean is baked into the fabric of the city, through fishing, boating, surfing, just chilling, enjoying life, and so on. Travel stories come from going slow and learning about the place that you're visiting, the culture, taking in the unique mood and atmosphere, and then translating your learnings into images. It doesn't have to fit a certain mold or into one specific box to be considered travel photography. At its core, it's telling the story of a place. What aesthetic approach you take to do that is up to you. Just be curious, go deep instead of wide, do your research, and follow what interests you. The rest of day 1 was spent documenting the fishing equipment and people on Yuigahama Beach, and then wandering around through the side streets again, until I started feeling sick and had to call it early. It doesn't always go exactly as planned. Day 2 in Kamakura came about a week and a half later during my month-long stay in Japan. I arrived on the train from Tokyo feeling energized, and at this point I knew exactly what I needed to complete the rest of my photo story. And little did I know, I picked the perfect day to come back again. Now that we know what to look for and how to approach a place, concept number 4 tackles the question everyone faces in the moment. I'm standing in front of something interesting. How do I actually capture it? This is where the wide, medium, tight coverage system comes in handy. To fully capture a place, like Engakuji or Hasedera, 2 massive Buddhist temple complexes I visited on my second day, we have to have certain types of shots to tell a layered story. Your wides are your establishing shots. They're showing the environment and setting for your story. Now, wides don't necessarily have to be shot wide at 24 or 35 millimeters. What's most important here is context. I want to show a wide scope of environmental context of a place. I can either step back with a wide lens, or maybe my vantage point is from further away and I have to zoom in to get the right frame. From there, I'll focus on medium and tight shots. Medium shots get a little closer in and start to provide more human-level context. Think of these as your on-the-ground perspective shots, what you might naturally see with your eyes. You're starting to isolate subjects more and get closer to them. Now we're picking out individual pieces of the larger environment. I might shoot these around 40 to 70 millimeters. And then you have your tight shots. These are the real close-ups, focused heavily on textures, shapes, and colors. These will usually come at 85 millimeters and up. These are the little details that deepen your visual narrative, like adjectives would in writing. You have your wide shot of the temple. Okay, now show me the details of how it's constructed. This combination of wide, medium, and tight shot at a range of focal lengths are what will give your story the depth and visual variety that keeps things from blending together too much and becoming boring. I like to shoot with a 24 to 105 zoom lens. I can go from wide at 24 to medium at 50 to tight at 105 in an instant. You don't need a zoom lens like this for travel photography. You can still shoot wide, medium, and tight by simply getting closer to the things that you're photographing and zooming with your feet. By the time I was wrapped up shooting at Hasedera, it was about 3:30 in the afternoon. I had my endpoint for the day at Enoshima, a small bridge access island off the coast, and I wanted to be there for sunset. The problem though was it was November, and the sun would be completely set within the next 2 hours. I still wanted to get to the beach for golden hour, and then to the top of Enoshima, overlooking the city, before the sun was completely set to get the shots that I was missing. From where I currently was, to the beach, then to Enoshima, was about 6.5 kilometers, but my only way of getting there was either a single local train that comes 3 times an hour, or straight up walking. I needed to hustle. So I booked it to Hase Station, caught the Enoden train line back to the beach, and everything was coming together. A few clouds had rolled in, but the sun burst through the crevices. It was the beginning of one of the best sunsets I ever had the chance to photograph. I had to make a decision at this point. Walk the 3.5 kilometer stretch of beach to Enoshima, shooting along the way, and risk not getting there in time to get the shots that I wanted, or take a couple photos at this point, get back on the train, guarantee the shots that I wanted, but miss the opportunity that was here. Concept number 5 is follow your gut. If something is telling you, go here instead of there, or go this way instead of that way, follow it. In all my travel experiences, it's never let me down. My gut said follow the light, so I walked. After over an hour of walking across the beach, shooting along the way, always thinking wide, medium, tight, staying curious, and filling those photo buckets, I passed through Koshigoi Fishing Port and crossed the 400-meter bridge to Enoshima, as the sunlight was beginning to fade. My gut didn't let me down, but there was one thing left, standing between me and the final shot I wanted overlooking the city. The 260 stairs to the top of Enoshima. There were paid escalators, but those probably wouldn't have the views, so I started climbing. I'm starving at this point. I had a small lunch at noon, it's now 5 p.m, I'm 6'4", I burn a lot of fuel, but photos need to be made. This late in the day, as the sun is nearly set, I'm shooting at 5000 ISO with an f4 lens because I don't have a tripod and I need a fast enough shutter speed to handhold my camera. I'm stabilizing it on railings, not ideal for low light photography, but I do not care. The last concept, number 6. Make the photo with whatever you have. Even if it isn't the right lens, or you don't have a tripod, or you have to shoot at 1 billion ISO to make it happen, make the photo. It's real, it's true to your story and experience, and it's not worth giving up because the conditions aren't perfect. So with a burn in my legs, I made it to the top of Enoshima, made my photos of the moon and the sea candle, and as the last remaining light of day fell into darkness, I made my final shot overlooking the city as the night lights cast over the water. This is shot at 10,000 ISO. It's grainy, it's not the best, most perfect photo I've ever made, but that doesn't matter, because it's real and it closes out our story on Kamakura. If there's a photo to be made, never let camera settings or imperfect gear stop you. It doesn't matter if it's grainy or a little blurry, it's real. Oftentimes, limitations are what breed creativity. After this image, I was done for the day. Everything came together the way I wanted it to. I didn't feel the need to photograph anything else. At some point, you have to call it. For me, it can often feel like I could have done more in hindsight, but the story is in the journey. I made it to my goal for the day. Anything else after that point would have been forced, and that would come through in the images. My watch clocked 20,000 steps and 55 flights of stairs between 8:30 in the morning at Engakuji and 5:30 in the evening at Enoshima. Feeling satisfied, I caught the train at Fujisawa Station back to Tokyo, once again admiring the city lights on my way in, and our day officially came to a close. Alright, let's recap these concepts because this was a long one. First, photo buckets. Create categories of images that you'll capture for your story. Not specific shots to copy, but themes that will spark ideas when you're actually walking around. Don't stress about having a perfect list. A general guideline can and will expand once you get there. Second, it's better to go deep than to go wide. Spend more time in fewer places for a deeper photo story and personal experience, instead of trying to jump from point to cross off a list. And piggybacking on that, number 3, curiosity is king. What are you personally interested in that can create a unique photo story? Travel stories come from going slow and learning about the place that you're visiting. So let your interests guide you and go deep from there. That way it'll be a story unique to you. Fourth, coverage. Wide, medium, tight. Wide establishing shots for the setting. With these, we want to show a wide scope of environmental context. Your medium shots isolate subjects within the larger environment. Think of these as on-the-ground human perspective shots, like what you might see with your eyes. And tight shots get close in on the details. Colors, shapes, textures, and light that will add richness to your story. Fifth, follow your gut. If something is saying go this way or go here instead of there, follow it. It's never let me down. And finally, make the photo with whatever gear you have. Don't let gear or crazy camera settings get in the way of making the photo. Even if it isn't perfect, it's real and true to your story. If it catches your eye, photograph it. And that's your essentials for travel photography storytelling. And when you put it all together, it might look something like this. This is a little test project for a longer photo book I'm working on. 28 images that show my photo story in Kamakura. Here are a few spreads that I like. Another one there. There's our final image. It actually looks really nice in print. I took hundreds and hundreds of images, but it's because of this framework that we talked about that I was able to create a project like this with 28 images that I'm really happy with in only 2 shooting days. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. If you enjoyed this format, let me know in the comments section down below and share this video with a friend. I ran a poll recently and storytelling and photography was one of the topics you guys wanted to learn more about, so I thought I'd try and teach travel photography storytelling through a personal photographic story. If the feedback is positive, I can absolutely make more videos teaching in this format. So be sure to drop a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already to make sure you get the next one, share this video with a friend, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.